All right, welcome. Today, we're diving into a really different way of looking at the history of gender roles. It's a perspective that says it was never just about survival. There was a forgotten spiritual purpose at the heart of it all. Let's get into it. So, the source material we're looking at kicks off with this really powerful idea. It suggests that, ancient societies weren't just focused on surviving day to day. They were actually built around this central goal of spiritual progression, a shared quest to connect with something much bigger. And if you're going after a goal that big, well, chaos is your worst enemy, right? So society was intentionally structured. It was like building a specific kind of container, an environment, designed to protect and really enable that spiritual journey for everyone. The key principle they used to make this happen was something called purity. And look, this wasn't about some kind of ritualistic obsession. It was way more practical. It was a method for keeping the mind clear and focused, which is absolutely essential if you're going to do that kind of deep inner work. Okay, so to protect that all-important purity, a kind of division of labor was set up. It made sense, right? Men would take on the job of dealing with the chaotic, unpredictable, sometimes dangerous outside world. And that left women with the crucial task of maintaining the calm, balanced, and pure inner world of the home. Now, this is the part that's really crucial to get. This setup wasn't seen as a hierarchy, one being better than the other. It was a division of function for a shared mission. Maintaining that inner world, that purity, was considered a sacred duty. It was absolutely essential for the whole family's spiritual path. It was all about a higher purpose. And the source material is super clear about this. The idea was never to say that women were weaker or less capable. Actually, it was the complete opposite. They were seen as the guardians, the keepers of the very path to that higher truth. It was a role of immense responsibility, not inferiority. So if that was the original blueprint, what went wrong? How did a system that was built on this idea of a shared sacred purpose turn into one of oppression? Well, it didn't happen overnight. Over centuries, that central spiritual goal, the whole reason for the structure in the first place, it just started to fade from memory. The why behind the rules got lost, and all that was left were the rigid rules, just the what. And that, right there, set off a devastating chain reaction. Once the why was gone, what was once a conscious choice for spiritual growth just became an enforced duty. Those roles turned into rigid rules, and those rules, well, they morphed into restrictions. It became this kind of automation of inequality. And this is where the real harm kicked in. That restriction, now totally empty of its original beautiful meaning, it led to this toxic belief that women were only capable of these specific roles, that their potential was just naturally limited to the home and nothing more. You can imagine an imbalance that deep, that profound, it couldn't last forever. It was practically begging for a powerful and, honestly, a very necessary correction. And that response, of course, was feminism. It rose up directly from that deep-seated inequality. At its heart, it was a massive pushback against centuries of forgotten purpose. It was a fight to bring back a simple, fundamental truth, that women are equal participants in humanity's growth, period. So the movement fought for what should have been givens, right? Equal rights, equal opportunities, equal respect. It was about the freedom to choose your own path, to get an education, to be safe and participate in literally any field. It was a wake-up call to society that, hey, you can't move forward when half of your people are being held back. But here's a really interesting point from the source material. Even a correction that is totally necessary has to find its own equilibrium. Otherwise, you risk just creating a whole new problem in its place. And that's the challenge we face today. Is the goal true equality, where both men and women move forward together, supporting each other's full potential? Or is it about revenge, where one group rises at the expense of the other? Because that just creates a whole new kind of imbalance. This brings us to a very clear, firm, modern perspective. Let's be blunt. Any system, I don't care if it's old or new, that blocks a person's potential or limits their growth is just wrong. Period. End of story. Because you see, true equality isn't just one single thing. It's a mix. It's about equal opportunity to chase whatever path you want. It's about equal respect for the different choices we all make. And it's about equal freedom to build your own life without being judged for it. And this brings us all the way back to the beginning. The ultimate goal, according to this perspective, is a society where everyone has the freedom to grow. A world where we stop wasting all our energy on this conflict and instead we focus on our shared spiritual progression. So that leaves us with a final thought to sit with. How do we actually do that? How do we move from this constant state of conflict to one of co-creation? And maybe most importantly, how do we rediscover a higher purpose that allows all of us to evolve together?